Good morning, everyone. I just want to talk about a pivotal experience in my life that happened yesterday, September 15th. To get specific on times, we'll go with 6 o'clock, 7:15, 9:19 a.m. I wrote down a few notes here because this is kind of new to me and I don't want to get lost. I have an issue with talking and social media and just everything all at once. But if you want to continue to listen, I'm going to talk about just my struggle with masculinity, coming of age, and a little bit about what's happening today, just with social media, tribalism. I'll just be talking about things through my experience and just using examples to kind of relay things. I might get a bit off topic, but this is kind of new to me. So yeah, what I just want to say is everyone comes into this world differently. Like, we have a different way that we're born into this world, regardless of what you want to believe. From my experience, how I came into this world was with two loving parents, and I'm getting lost here. And I had fear. Um, we are made perfectly because the universe has a plan for us. But in terms of numbers, there's like 10% that's not right, I guess you could say. That you need faith to find and correct. And there's a reason for that. It grows your character and evolves you or leads you to be the person that you're supposed to be. I really do believe that, and I do see that now. So this is more for, like, I would say boys, men, that are like kind of going through those stages, like 13 to like early adulthood. Because I want to say that yesterday was a pivotal point. Again, I'll reiterate that, of me becoming a man, and I do believe that. And masculinity, gender, all these topics are talked about a lot, but it's kind of hard to get the other side's perspective because of how radicalized everything is with social media, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, with this documentary I watched the other day on Netflix. But so that's my fear, is the social media from an early age, body issues, self-esteem issues. Again, I go back to numbers because mathematics and numbers and just the way numbers have meaning. Like the number 12 has meaning for me, and I didn't know why. There's a lot of the number 12, like 12 steps, 12 disciples. The list goes on. Like 12 is a pretty important number for me, and I didn't know why. But what I figured out with my brain is it's actually 1 out of 12 is the number that I need to focus on. So that equals 8.3%. So for me, when my brain goes through all the neurons that fire up when on a day-to-day basis, it's often right. Like the first thought's often right, like 8% of the time. But when I have enough repetition, that becomes 100%. But when I carry out something that I have 100% conviction with, I don't give myself as much patience or others as much patience when I'm doing it, and a lot of the times I'm wrong, because the amount of times I'm wrong is 91.7% of the time. So there's that to to think about, like when it comes to how people's brains work and mental health and everything. And social media is not making things better. Corporations, everything that's going on right now is not making anything better. It's the perfect environment for chaos. The moral of the story that I learned is to love myself and others. I mentioned that. So there's a lot of causes. So some of the ones that I wrote down here, and I'm not saying that these apply to everyone. Some people are okay with these triggers and some people aren't. It really depends on where you're at with your mental health. But there's drugs. There's sometimes processed food and sugar can have like dopamine and just chemicals that our body's not supposed to have on a regular basis. That can lead to attention problems. For me, insomnia is a really bad thing. Like I think I got one sleep cycle last night. And then there's ethics. So like at our core, so that 8.3% that I was talking about, that's like the thing you're right on. Like you fail all those times and you call yourself down, people call you down for it, but then you find that 8.3% and it's the right thing. Like it's your ethics, it's your alignment. It's that thing that you always strive for, like since you were 13 till when you feel like you have things figured out. I understand that most of the world is not as privileged as I am. Not as many people have as many opportunities, as many goes in life. It depends. Everyone's born differently, born to different parents. Like you have no control of that. Like that's just the skin, the flesh that you're born into. So my privilege is my gender, my race, my socioeconomic status, my upbringing, and I wrote post-secondary education there as well. There's a lot of different things. Like it's really hard to see it, but when you use empathy, when you exercise empathy and you look at the other point of view, like once you stop going down that rabbit hole that agrees with your side of things, and like it's not just for us, like for men, like it's for women, it's for like every personality, for every, like we just want an opinion that lines up with ours. So we search that out and we go down a rabbit hole, and that's what we're seeing now with our current state of affairs. So the Netflix documentary that I watched the other day is called The Social Dilemma. So it explores the dangerous human impact of social networking. So this has been always a big fear of mine throughout adolescence. I just didn't really know how advanced it was. I didn't know the algorithms, the AI, the science behind it. It's just everyone was on it. Everyone was doing it. It felt like the right thing to do. There felt like there was social pressure for pictures to be tagged in things, to talk to that girl that you had a crush on. There was lies spread, friendships. There's the fights that I've been on. Like they've all started with social media, the online bullying, all that stuff. Like it manifests itself differently in men and women, And I really see that now because I didn't recognize the body issues and dysmorphia that women have in their issues, because other people's issues, we don't have them, so they don't feel real to us. But then we're hiding and masking our inner issues. So for men, like, men have a lot of ego dysmorphia, body dysmorphia as well. I know I can't talk for anyone else, but I know I did. So this was MSN Messenger, Nexopia, Tinder, eHarmony, Christian Mingle, whatever dating app you're on, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I remember what the documentary said. They said, if you're not paying for a product, you are the product. So for those things that I just listed that you're not paying for, you're paying for it with your attention. You're paying for it with the things that you're losing by not giving your attention to the things you should be focused on. So it's like, so dopamine, I can't, braces are kind of messing that up for me. Dopamine, it's that, so like caffeine, alcohol, like that feel good feeling, like when you get a text or notification, and that the lack of it when you don't get those texts, when you don't get those notifications, the loneliness you feel, to step things up a notch, it's like every time that phone beeps, it's like you're doing a line, or it's like you're injecting heroin. Like, that's how powerful it has become now. These things we're meant to have, like, our tolerances for it are just so high now. So the things that were filled with, like, a child's laughter, nature, like just anything that gives you that kind of like that feel good feeling, that's natural, that we're meant to have, because that's how we know that we're doing the right things. We're doing the things that we're aligned with, that light us up. What we're doing now with the sugar and the drugs and the social media and technology and screens and cameras and like, and basically anything like that that's fulfilling our ego or our sense of self or self-worth, that's not rooted in who we are on the inside. It's the same basically as, like, they equate it in the documentary as lab rats. So we're basically lab rats for these corporations. They're seeing like what neurons in our brain like make our foot twitch, make our fingers twitch. And I know all about that too well from what I've been through in the last 5 years, but like I'd say since I was 13, it just really manifested itself in the last like 6 weeks. So people that have followed my postings or saw my postings, or if you want to know more, just reach out to me. I'm trying to limit my social media a bit, but I also feel like I have a calling, or I have like just a message to get out, because it keeps me up and I think about it, and I play these loops over and over again, just like these algorithms play themselves over and over again. They figure you out. They figure out that 8% or whatever. They figure out what your deepest desire is that you don't even know. That isn't what it's supposed to be. Like, they show you the wrong thing. So maybe you're at work and you're like shopping for this coffee table, which I've done and bought, or you're doing these things that you think that's how marketing gets you. They flip the script, so they find your inner drives and then they sell it back to you so that you think it's your own idea. That's a lot how consciousness works. Like God or the universe or whatever you believe in, that inner voice, no one can tell you that. No one can find salvation and practice a covenant, like Abraham's covenant in Genesis, when he was 99 years old. Some people know what I'm talking about. But he went through a choice for him and his 13-year-old son. But it doesn't mean that that is for everyone. Like, everyone has their own faith situation where they just have to have faith over worry, trust the universe, trust God. Yeah, like, that's really the main thing of what I wanted to say. I'm going to get into even more controversial territory now, because, like, talking about religion, talking about masculinity, talking about mental health, it's very taboo in our society right now, and I realize that, and it's one of the reasons why things have gotten so bad. But there's another page of notes I had here. So I just want to talk a little bit about my experience in the hospital and George Floyd, rest in peace, and Black Lives Matter, and just fear manifesting itself, and tribalism, because that is what happened. Like, there would be no difference between what I experienced in Calgary with a mental breakdown, with feeling misunderstood, with everything that makes up my consciousness being flipped so that left is right, right is left, forwards is backwards. Like, literally, like, people you love are the people that you need to get rid of. Like, everything turns against you. You're sleeping, like, you think you're sleeping when you're not. You think you're feeding yourself when you're not. Like, all these disorders that people equate to craziness. Like, no one wants to feel crazy, so they don't get the help. They don't go to the doctor. Like, there's a lot of fears. Like, I have a lot of fear about needles, about doctors, hospitals. There's a lot of triggers for my anxiety, and I realize the depth of them. And there's some things that, like, I don't get anxious about at all, because I've been fortunate enough to have time on my side. But someone like George Floyd, he didn't have time. And a lot of people don't have time because they're not in the privilege that I am. So once again, I just want to say thanks for my privilege, and that's really all I can say on the subject, because it's hard for me to feel comfortable talking about it, because there's a lot of polarizing ideas, and everything's very taboo and tribal right now. But that's one thing I really wanted to talk about. And so that wormhole of radicalization, that's based on that algorithm I was talking about. So the algorithm that these free apps and technology, where they figure us out and sell it to marketing and radicalize these ideas, they make you more likely to click on this YouTube video of this guy who's just talking, who doesn't know, like, no one really knows what they're just a guy on YouTube just rambling, like, talking about flat earth, and you have someone who, like, would never believe in that in regular circumstances to start actually believing that and arguing for that, and then later they are embarrassed because they realize, like, wow, I just played myself. I let myself be played by social media. So, for example, I might feel like I need to laugh, and I'll just go on YouTube and I'll type in comedy, and, like, I might see some older comedy, like, I would say, like, older Bill Burr, where I can relate to, like, his anger and some things. But then you start seeing, like, older stuff and then it goes down that sexism rabbit hole. So then it goes to like some more rage, and then it go to like Jim Jeffries, which is like Australian humor kind of thing, and talking about like God, sexism more, and then you keep going down that other rabbit hole. But then I'm not saying like one's worse, or this is just like an example. But then you start like Joe Rogan, um, Jordan Peterson, people that were just like, yeah, like they're everyone's meaning well, but these rabbit holes just keep taking you on further rabbit holes that you didn't realize you signed up for, because you want that next fix, you want that next high, you want that next line. And then for me, then I start watching like MMA videos and violence. I go to political videos, Donald Trump. And then like people take that further, right? Like sometimes that's where I stop, but then there's like, it plants a seed, and sometimes people are going through like loss of a loved one, or they're going through something, and they take that next step, that step like towards radicalization. Like I'd say the alt right or the alt left, or wherever. Well, those are the only two options politically. Like on the far ends of the spectrum, you have like fascism. Was it fascism, communism? Yeah, or something like that. I don't know. Um, Off topic, anyways. But that's just what can happen. Another lesson, I guess, to kind of be on a pause. I'll try to end on a positive note. Um, I really, after my tooth extractions, I binge watched Cobra Kai on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. It's great. It has both sexes. It has inner peace, balance, anger, broken families, alcoholism, just everything. But everything's always coming to that balance and inner peace, which I realize is my main focus right now, is finding balance and inner peace. Because I don't want to do nothing, because a dangerous man is going down those rabbit holes and not shutting your brain off, but it's also dangerous for us to do nothing right now, because people are dying. Wars are starting, like literally, like the environment, everything around us is being affected by this. So we have to do something about it. Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to try to limit my screen time, and this is the only take I'm going to do, and we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to start a conversation and just get off what I had on my chest. All right. Let's see if I can flip this thing around here. Oh, no, I can't. All right. This is just, so I'm staying at this Airbnb, just healing from my procedure, and I just came into my truck because I felt like this was a calm place for me to be. In my driving is another one of my stresses, and I have this I guess you could say keepsake that my mom gave to me that says, choose faith over worry. So I just encourage my fellow woman, to find out what that means to you, what that phrase, whatever gives you that inner peace. For me, that's what it's become, is choose faith over worry, because sometimes the 8% in your brain is actually what you need to be listening to. All right, peace and love.